I may be the only person on Earth who regularly uses a heads-up display for work, and that is disgraceful. It's 2024. Everyone and their dog should have a heads-up display. Where is the dogmented reality? Other than fighter pilots and yours truly, no one wears computers for work, or for fun, or really at all. It may explain the dingleberries increasingly encrusting my comment sections, such as, "I would love your videos, but your Google Glass is so cringe." A lesser man would be offended. An even lesser man would say something like that in the first place. But really, the only part that grinds my gears is when people call this a Google Glass. This is not a Google Glass. I am wearing the Optigon, my own custom heads-up display. This is a Google Glass. Note the tiny display above the right eye. My version has a huge display in front of my left eye. Google Glass goes over your nose. The Optigon goes behind my neck. But the most important difference is Google Glass is almost useless, but the Optigon is arguably my most important piece of video making equipment. This wearable computer is like a super-powered teleprompter combined with a virtual camera operator, effectively letting me memorize 5,000 words instantly and be in two places at once. If you appreciate the things that make my videos, right? The high-density wordplay, the fast-paced fun facts, this thing is what makes it happen. Today, we'll look at, and more importantly through, my custom heads-up display, how I made it, how I use it, and why I will never do another episode without it. So welcome behind the scenes, or should I say behind the screens, of Voidstar Lab. Ladies, gentlemen, and especially cyborgs, using a heads-up display can feel like downloading knowledge directly into your brain. But if you actually do want to download knowledge directly into your brain, you want today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. From low-level trigonometry to high-altitude triangulation, Brilliant's hands-on lessons build skills faster and more effectively than anything else I'm currently being paid to promote. For instance, coding in Python is super useful. My subtitle hoodie, searchable workshop, and the script that preps my Patreon credits are all Python. Brilliant can get you writing code right away, right in your browser with no confounding command lines or terrifying tool chains to fight through first. That do now, learn later mentality is what makes Brilliant work. It is just infinitely easier to lock in a new concept after you've used it. Experimenting with concepts has been proven to be multiple times more effective than listening to lectures. So the less you like studying, the more Brilliant can teach you. See for yourself. Visit brilliant.org/Zack Freedman for a free trial month of everything they've got and save 20% off an annual subscription. Start building new knowledge so you can build better projects. Thanks Brilliant for sponsoring a Nap-isode. Now grab your trunks, because we're Gohan in. Get what I'm saying? You know how many times I've been asked about a power level? I'll give you a hint. It's less than 10,000, but it's not much less. I intentionally made the Optigon deliberately look like Vegeta's Scouter on purpose. By tapping the trope and making my heads-up display look like what people think a heads-up display looks like, even the basic bitchiest late majority normie usually gets what's going on. That's part of why I had to make this episode, because I just never explain it. But I think a few fine folks take their norminess a tad too seriously and leave my most frequently asked question. Don't you know if you ditched the Google Glass, more people would watch your videos? Normal people like me, who are very normal, find the non-normality of your Google Glass very distracting. I'm not offended. It's just not really a question. But those on the other side of the spectrum, as it were, often want to build their own heads-up displays, and these fine folks frequently I use fine folks twice. How did you actually make the glass part? I didn't. And neither can you. You cannot build custom wearable optics that are good enough to actually use. Nope, shut up, let me cook. Originally, the Optigon's display was an Epson Moverio BT40, this weirdly boxy, vaguely sunglasses-shaped wearable display designed to attach to your phone to watch videos on airplanes. Sleazy ones. The videos, not the airplanes, unless you're flying Frontier. If you think my headgear is distractingly silly, you should see what it used to look like. Just to be clear, I'm not mad at my comments. I'm passionate about my art. I detached the arm and the right display, I sawed the lens in half, and I created an unimaginably stupid hardware hack to keep Epson's firmware from realizing half its electronics had suddenly gone missing. The Optigon's headset is literally just the left half of the BT40 mounted to a custom frame. I didn't construct this eyepiece so much as I deconstructed it. I strongly recommend you watch those episodes, not because you need them for, make sense of this episode, but just to see for yourself how stupid this mod really was. The point is, I bought this display. I didn't make it. You can't make optics like this. You can't do it with resin, you can't do it with mirrors, you can't do it with lenses. You must buy a heads-up display, you cannot make your own, you have to buy it, you cannot fabricate it from parts, it must be bought whole. It's not a matter of ideas, tools, intelligence, expertise. There is nothing in your control that enables you to build a heads-up display. Custom wearable optics are a multi-million-dollar initiative, and you can buy all that hard work by simply deciding not to try to do it all yourself. Is it cheating? Who cares? It's not a f***ing learning experience. experience. It's a project. What are you learning for? Your next project? Why don't you fucking work on that project instead, you fucking idiot? If you think this turned into my venting rage against the commenters episode, just know I'm not actually offended. This is a bit. I'm acting. People on YouTube aren't real. They're not even people. The third most F-ly aid cue is whether a monocular display can injure my eyes. That one's easy to answer. It's absolutely not. The optics that make the display work also make it appear to be very far away, so it's actually less eye strain than a smartphone. And no, seeing a different image in each eye will not hurt you. You are literally always seeing different things in each eye, you dink. That said, any heads-up display can be irritating if the picture is too small or sloppy, or if the optics block too much ambient light. That's why I picked the Movario in particular. Its picture is colossal, crisp, and crystal clear. The clear lens is also better for you, because transparency goes both ways, and now you can see the rest of my face. And it's not really a lens per se. It's a whole system of mirrors, prisms, and luminous flux controls, whatever the f that means. An OLED microdisplay shines into its edge, and the compound optics route it around the corner and unfold it onto my field of view like a tiny movie projector. Its resolution is a full 1920 by 1080, which is f***ing insane. The microdisplay is less than half an inch diagonal, but has just as many LEDs as my PC's 5.5-inch AMOLED, and that is 3,000% bigger. I mounted my I mounted my modded monocular module to a 3D printed articulating arm made of carbon fiber PET. That's a rough, tough, and stiff filament. It's perfect for holding something in position, but it's still slick enough to be adjustable. The BT40's biggest weakness is its narrow eye box. If my pupil moves just a tiny bit out of its super slim sweet spot, the picture's edges disappear. On the other end of the arm is a headband printed in the purple but also green glow-in-the-dark glitter PETG I showed off in my Cursed Filaments episode. Note how it wraps behind my neck. I've been drawing a lot of attention to this because it's very important. The display glares like crazy, and I can't add an anti-glare coating since the front surface is part of the optics. My only option is to set my key lights high and wide, and my previous headset had a conventional nose bridge glasses frame, which cast shadows that I thought looked even worse than the glare. When I rebuilt the system, I designed this behind the neck frame that's pretty much invisible from your point of view. You see this configuration a lot in sci-fi flicks, but not very often in real life. Your standard glasses frame has 4 points of contact, 2 arms that rest on your ears, and 2 pads pinching your nose. This forms a really stable platform to carry optics and electronics, and since the arms can stretch to fit your skull, one size fits most. But when the bend swings the other way, there's nothing for it to rest on. Unless you're a Roman god of doors and duality, you've only got a nose on the front of your head. The only thing that keeps the frame from seesawing on my ears is friction. To keep the headband in place, I had to painstakingly contour it to perfectly fit my skull. This works great, but it means nobody but I can wear it. That's why I added my very favorite new feature. Give the display a good tug, and it pops right off. You know, optics and all. So if you run into me IRL, this magnetic dock lets you peek through the Optigon without having to worry about the frame fitting your bulbous brain. You gotta have a big brain if you like me. I'm really proud of this. I've been designing wearable computers for over a decade, and it really did take all that time to figure out how to do a decent live demo. There is a downside. I have long hair, and some of it always gets trapped. If we met at OpenSauce or Ermurf, or I guess right now, my hair is actively being plucked out as we spoke. It's a small price to pay for debunking the buttheads who think I'm just wearing this as a prop. I'm not offended, I just want the truth to get out. The truth is very important. These magnets also grip this little dingus, which is a magnetic cable guide that routes the wire over my ear and out of sight. Remember, this is nothing but a display. My eyes are up here, but the computer and power are down there. The Optigon headset connects through this MagSafe style magnetic connector, so if something catches the cable, it won't rip the wearables off my bod or the USB port off the board. This is where we hit the computer part of this wearable computer, and I've never fully revealed it on the channel. This elaborate belt pack is built around the Codis Edge V, one of very, very few single board computers that have all the right features. USB display port for the headset, Android for the software, and a rechargeable battery. It's very important that the battery is replaceable, because if it runs out partway through a shoot or a conference or something, I don't have time to charge it. Remember when everything had replaceable batteries? That's literally the only way the old days were gooder. Technically, the Edge V doesn't actually have that last one, but it does have the Juice, an optional module that lets you wire a 2S LiPo directly to the board. It adds all the electronics to charge, regulate, and measure it, even if you actually connect that battery through the tiniest, most finicky connector I've ever had to cramp. I mean crimp, but I guess that works too. This connector is so delicate, I couldn't risk the wire snagging on anything getting ripped out. I had to integrate the battery dock into the computer pack, and this turned what was already a chunky monkey into a chungus so humongous it needed 2 belt clips. I don't listen to my own advice, so I printed belt clips instead of buying them, and no matter what I tried, they would eventually loosen up, snap off, or otherwise unbelt my pack. It also didn't help that the Edge V CPU, the Rockchip RK3399, was outdated before this board was even released, and Codis took the classic post-launch support strategy called don't. So it's slow, it's light on apps, and it frequently falls off my belt through an announcer's table. It is the worst except for all the alternatives, so I used it anyways, and I actually did write an episode about it. Days before I could shoot it, Codis released the Edge 2, a board so comprehensively insanely better, I ditched the script and the belt pack and started over from scratch. The Edge 2 has a high-powered RK3588 that f***ing screams, and even covered by its mandatory active cooler helps make this the thinnest single-board computer I've ever held. The old Edge V was actually better in one respect. Because it had the juice board, I could wire the battery right in. The Edge 2, for reasons nobody, especially not the manufacturer, can explain, does not and will not ever connect directly to a battery. Codis jumped through so many hoops to make this board super slim, and just straight up forgot that mobile devices need batteries. Who are these people? No juice board means no more despicably delicate mandatory battery header. I am free to use any connector I want. To spread the load, I split the CPU and battery into 2 separate belt packs and connected them with a coiled USB cable. And I just want to be clear, the USB cable is the battery cable. That's right, this is an 8.4 to 7.0 volt power bank. Codis is also too lazy to properly implement USB power delivery, so we can feed up to 20 volts directly into its USB port. A fun quirk of this design is the Edge 2 can't measure its battery now. Its predecessor had this power management chip that the Android kernel could check, but this thing always thinks the battery is half full and charging. I could add a power gauge myself, but the real problem is getting Android to actually do something with it. Low-level Android programming is so diabolically complex, if you had me at gunpoint and said compile Android from source or else, I would look you dead in the eye and say you don't have the balls to pull that trigger. So I put this little voltmeter on the side. Turns out it's not very easy to read your own pants. The battery pack also has a built-in power gauge, but it's so inaccurate it's worse than nothing. So in the end, I use the Android status bar. If I can see the status bar, the battery isn't dead. Yeah, and instead of printing belt clips, I grew a brain and I bought some. The only way to rip the new Optigon off my belt is to rip the belt off my pants, and if Gravity wants to do that, it can buy me a drink first. The Optigon now boots faster, runs smoother, and is way less bulky. So we've arrived at the fun part, the controller. And by fun, I mean wearable user interface design is the most cursed problem in technology. The best you can hope for is something that's barely tolerable at 1 or 2 specific jobs, and the only way to know is to actually try it. So I tried folding keyboards, cording keyboards, keyboards with trackpads on them, trackpads with keyboards on them, a keyboard that is itself a trackpad with no keyboard whatsoever, the world's smallest trackpad, a circular trackpad, a trackpad on a stick, a keyboard that's also a remote control that's also a mouse, keyboards that are also remote controls that are also mice, a gyro mouse ring that's also a regular mouse ring, trackpad rings, a TikTok remote control ring, tiny trackball, handheld trackball, pen-shaped mouse, IBM trackpoint style pointing device reminiscent of no female physiology whatsoever, and a gamepad trackpad gyro mouse scroll wheel abomination whose very existence indicts our entire species with each passing femtosecond. I also found this RGB trackball the size of a small grapefruit. Not for this project, I just think it's neat. So here's the question, the algorithm-friendly engagement-boosting question. Would you watch an episode just about my ridiculous collection of silly input devices? Let me know in the comments, and please don't tell me you would like to watch it if I only took off my stupid Google Glass, though it wouldn't offend me. I'm not f***ing offended. So for video production, this is my weapon of choice. It's a keyboard on one side, and the other side is this TV remote control that's also an air mouse or a gyro mouse. When I wave it around, it moves the cursor, which makes it really easy and fast to use with one hand. I consider talking to be a hands-on activity. But I'm still trying out new options, and I might even make some experimental controllers of my own, because holding objects has been scientifically proven to reduce charisma. Basically, I need a mouse and keyboard so slick they transcend the human condition. I'm telling you, input devices for wearables are f***ing hard. So what am I actually controlling? Glad I assumed you asked. The Optigon runs Android 14, and if you'll allow me to pat my own horn on the back, getting these shots was a fucking nightmare. I literally cannot shoot this with anything but my phone, and I needed to design a special dock to actually get the footage. Praise me. I need it. All these people calling my favorite project stupid. I'm not offended, I just need a hug. Alright, listen up, meme lords. I spent almost 500 American cents on a 31-year-old first-person shooter just so I can say it plays Doom. This is my favorite way to demo the headset because it almost immediately gives almost anyone motion sickness, and that amuses me. Then we get the serious apps for serious business. When I'm writing episodes, I write about 2,500 words a day for 3 or 4 days, then I carve that down to about 4,000. That's why I don't improvise. Well over half the things I want to say were never worth hearing, and the rest suck until I polish those turds dozens of times. Once I'm satisfied and or running too far behind the deadline, I cut the script into short scenes a minute or so each, which makes combining takes more manageable. I can't even deliver a full sentence without f***ing it up. And I do the writing on a computer, not the heads-up display. Typing a single sentence on a wearable, no matter what your controller is absolute torment. Humanity has made more progress on wearable jet engines than wearable controllers. Back on the Optigon, I retrieve the prepared script and copy the text. I then open Elegant Teleprompter, create a new project, and paste it in. I use this particular app because it gives me a lot of control over the margins. And remember, the display is a pencil-thin sweet spot, so at least one edge is always out of sight. Why solve a problem if it doesn't matter in the first place? Speaking of, I've also been playing around with another app called PromptSmart, which uses voice recognition to automatically scroll the text. It actually works pretty well. The biggest problem, apart from the subscription fee, you f***ing parasites, is where to put the mic. The optimal microphone choice is just a mic on a headphone jack, because that means I don't have to dangle another cable off my head. But the Moverio's headphone jack is on its lapel thing, and I usually clip that behind my neck. I don't really want to visibly wear 2 mics. I feel like that would be a little goofy. Not the way that's in character. But the HMD ain't just for A-roll. This is the Raven Eye wireless video transmitter courtesy of Micro Center. If I connect this little guy to the Blackmagic camera with which I shoot the very footage you're watching, I can stream the viewfinder directly to my heads-up display. The Raven Eye can also control the camera, which lets me dial in the shot while I'm actually in it.
Does this mean I'm fired?
I can't read the script and look at the picture at the same time. But maybe if this was a 2-eye display. No matter where I am or what I'm doing, I can now see what the camera sees, and this helps me get all kinds of hands-on project building shots without blocking the action or squinting through a mini monitor. I can even combine this with our Ronin gimbal, thanks again Micro Center, and get perfectly framed, buttery smooth handheld shots at all kinds of wacky angles and tight spots. The Optigon is still a work in progress, and that's the point. I love building wearables, because when you improve the project, you're really improving yourself. So if you say you really would like my channel, if only I didn't wear that cringy Google Glass, the most charitable thing I can say is you're wrong. Without this headset, my videos wouldn't be my videos. But let's be real, people who say things like this are not serious. They're not giving advice. They're so hollow on the inside. They sit through a video they hate just to insult a stranger's eyewear. You know what? I am fucking offended. Let's see you crap up my comment section without any fucking fingers. Thank you, Aura, for covering my tracks and sponsoring this video, and thanks to the real G's still watching, the ones who look past my technology to see the sensitive soul within. The Optigon does not have night vision, so I'd like to thank our patrons for keeping the lights on. Your support means I don't have to change myself or my channel to get a mass market audience. If you want to help keep my channel weird, visit patreon.com/Zack Freedman and join cool cats like today's random lab scientists. Casey's Bilodeau, that one up real bad. Casey Bilodeau, Sarah McDonald, and Matthew Deemer. Our superhumanly generous collaborators include SXP, Turner Zay, The Suits Are Under Fun, Scott Rainey, Bitrot, ZomboDB, Diogenes of Yerba Buena, Brooklyn Cannabis Dispensary, The Benevolent Misanthrope, Microwave, Schleppy the Schwagster, No Block Zachary Wilson, and Chuck Me Harder Baby. I've hidden their names in an Easter egg and made them permanent parts of my workshop, and look at that, they got nameplates and everything. Sorry, Diogenes, I only have so much workshop. Brevity is the soul of wit, so I have abbreviated our lab assistant supporters' names to better reflect their wittiness. Donkishane, Matthew Reinhardt, Kevin DeGraff, Rusty Flute, Colin J. Webb is out of ideas, Cody, Clayton Easley, Gotham, Mike Kelly, Agent Maxwell, VK2K, Haley Kerman, SKL, Kermit the OG Frog, Sunbird Cat, Quality Doggo, Sox Magox, Sorceress MLE, Max Luck, Bryn Wolf Schulte, Zach, Roger Pinkham, The Cuttlefish, Chartelos, Travis Pocky, Jason, Not a Lawyer, Blamo, Antitux, Cliff Henning, Spire, Danny Devoid of Life, Elite Giant, The Snow Chow Cabal, Amanishi, John Loves Jen, Cameron Ogletree, Robo-Chemo, No Disassemble, Talon, Noah B. Johnson, Protagonist, Earth is Printed, Michael, Lydia K, Eddie, Paul Gibbs, Period Clots, The Q101, King Shaming Walrus, Reagan, Nathan, Kyle the Drywall Repairman, Deorbital Mechanic, Incognito, Acalia makes Zack say trans rights are human rights. Joke's on you, I was gonna say that anyways. Ergay, Big Bird Tommy, Cyber Trash, Aaron Steers, Circle Zero, Robert the Bob, Jiggle My Puff, Stick, Rihanna 99 and Urch, Gunner, Martin Titonium, Robert Breeze, Renaud Bataille, Boulder Creek Air James, Kathy and Brent Irvine, Viwatch, 3 Raccoons, Baden-Württemberg, The Krolster, DBD, Land Jesus, Granville Schmidt, Burndock 3, Right to Repair, Amira Hoom, TR Fullheart, Iron Rain, Pretty Pony, Michael Creamer Jr., Cameron McPherson, Craft Computing, Tactical Possum, Storm B Design, Dennis Kempin, Powerful CCH, Just Human Garbage, Alfinger, Bull and Beans, Quantumly Tingled, Vagelli, Doom Crew Inc., Comrade Spamuel, Dr. Mrs. the Mirrorman, Kevin Sumner, My Dog is a Bear, Olive Robbins, Trump, Nova Ren, Des Baldonado, The Water Heater, Good Lady Nat, Evan Kinney, Timor, Transrights, Crash Doom, Onyx Plague, Lost Dryer Socks, Acorn, Brad Cox, Sanforian, Buck Turgidson, Shane Frederick, Chorance, Nuclear 314, Steve's Dad, Burn It, Belt Free Belt Printer, Pucker Up Brown Eyes, Scroto Saggins, Chris Floofy Kitsune, Bill Schooler, Callsign Carrot, Carnamon, Moonkin, Jack Moran, Joseph Ribka, Thunder Chicken, Zach Harvey, Bob Dobbington, Parasocial Bestie, Travis Hippa, Good Suck, The Monk, 6A6F, Mitch 3D, Slippy McToof, Zap, Dale Bibby, and many voices in my head. Goddammit, Zach gave me DMT again. Common misconception. DMT makes you see things, not hear things. I actually flooded your house with Catboy gas and your personas are now overwriting your consciousness. Thanks for watching, and I cannot comprehend how anyone thinks I could say that list of names without reading it off a heads-up display. I will see you in the future.